Hello and welcome to the dungeon. My name is Dan, and in today's review we're going to have a look at Resident Evil 2 the remake. First thing first though, if you're new to Resident Evil and you want to give this series a shot, stop what you're doing, pause this video and go back through my video history and watch my first Resident Evil remake. Then come back to this one and we'll continue, okay? Okay, I assume you're back. Let's get going. So, Capcom, in their infinite wisdom, have decided that it's more profitable to re-release their old games with a shiny new gloss of paint than it is to make some new stuff. And considering I love a lot of their old games, such as Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, Onimusha, and whatnot, that's good news to me. Unlike, say, Onimusha, which was re-released quite recently in fact, this is a brand new remake straight from the ground up, and it looks gorgeous. When it comes to making a detailed environment, I think survival horror has a slight advantage over other genres, mainly because so much of the screen is in darkness, they can put a lot more effort into what you do see. And that really comes across in the first part of this game when you visit a garage or a mart of some kind for you American audiences out there, and look at all the stuff on the shelves and all the various different things scattered around that you can really have a close inspection of. Now, bearing in mind that all the footage you see in front of you is from the Xbox One S, if you add in a high-powered PC's performance into this, then it's a whole lot better. Just look at these facial animations. So yes, this remake is definitely a looker. But how does it play and what's it all about? Well, I'm going to answer the second question first of all. If you are new to Resident Evil 2, and you've already watched my Resident Evil video, then let me explain what's going on. See, the world has kind of gone to shit, or at least this city has, Raccoon City. There are hordes of zombies just everywhere, eating the shit out of everyone. Not literally, although maybe. Anyway, let's move on. Bigger and more scarier mutants are causing unknown havoc. Even worse, this kind of situation brings out all the crazies with guns who may or may not have good intentions. Basically, it's the 90s again. And on that note, thank you Capcom for not setting Resident Evil 2 in today's world and sticking it where it should do in 1998, with all of its dial-up and glory. You even get to use VCRs at some points. How retro is that? So in this game there are two main characters. Leon, the handsome chap in front of you, is a rookie cop, and he's about to start his new assignment at Raccoon City. As he is a rookie, this is a long time before he starts suplexing Spaniards. The second main character is Claire Redfield, sister to Chris from the first and subsequent games, and she is a strong, empowered lady who is just the equal to Leon, if not better. Together they meet up, have a bit of dialogue, encounter some zombies, split up, and make their separate ways to the police station. Now, the original Resident Evil 2 was very much a survival horror game, and this is no exception. Ammunition for your guns is somewhat limited. You have to really scrounge around and go into places you may not want to go just to get a little bit more bang for your buck. Zombies are now a lot more tankier, unlike the controls this time around, which has gone for a much more modern over-the-shoulder look. So on the one hand, it's now very easy to make those all-important headshots, but on the other hand, headshots don't really mean much now since they can all take it with barely any damage most of the time. Now you may get lucky once or twice and the whole cranium explodes in a shower of gore, but mostly they'll take it, maybe go down for a bit of a nap, and then get back up again to try and eat your shoes. I actually really appreciate this change to the zombies because then they are much more of a threat. Now, it's not simply a case of clearing out one place and then moving on, but rather deciding if it's worth the ammo to try and take care of them, or if simply running past is the way to go. Bear in mind though that these decomposing dickheads will often follow you through rooms, so have an eye in the back of your skull to make sure you're not being followed for them. One of my favourite things of this game, though, is how modular the zombie limbs are. What I mean by that is you can shoot off zombies' arms, legs, off whatever you want, and they will still keep coming for you. It's kind of funny, actually, in a kind of macabre type of way, as a torso and an arm and a head just comes for you. But all of this really does work and make Resident Evil 2 the remake a very atmospheric and tense situation to go through. Playing for the first time is a dream if you like being terrified out of your wits' end, as every time you go through a new door you wonder what kind of monstrosity will try to tear you limb from limb this time. This is all heightened by the sound design in this game, which is absolutely on point. You hear everything from shutters being rattled as zombies try and get into the station, as well as the very wet sounds of feet or claws on the walls. Knowing where your enemies are when you can't see them is extremely important, particularly when it comes to the big size 15 boots of Mr. X, but more about him later. As for the music, this has been updated with a much more electronic, kind of nondescript sound that often you won't even notice. It's a far cry from the original piano score they had in the original Resident Evil 2, but the good news is you can also have the original music should you wish to. The bad news is you have to pay for it. Nice, Capcom, nice. I mean, I get that microtransactions are profitable, but do you really have to hide the original soundtrack behind a paywall? Isn't their noir get-ups and their black and white filter sufficient for you? I guess not. Anyway, back to the core gameplay, and scarcity is the name of the game. Everything that you can interact with has a purpose. Herbs give you more health, ammunition is ammunition, and most importantly, key items are your way of getting through the labyrinth police station and beyond. Inventory management is so important as you work out what it is exactly you need and what can be stored for a later date. Unlike the original Resident Evil remake, this one gives you a lot more options to expand your inventory as you find pouches all across the map. These are essential to going further, as it prevents you from having to backtrack to a safe room every 5 minutes just to get some more ammo for your guns. Speaking of herbs, let's talk about the blue herb. So, for all of you who don't know how herbs in this game work, greens restore your health as mentioned, blues remove poison, and red don't do anything by themselves but make blues and greens better. When it comes to poison, in 3 playthroughs of the game, twice as Claire and once as Leon, I was poisoned exactly once by these little sewer critters. The lickers don't seem to poison you, the plant creatures don't seem to poison you, but then again I wasn't attacked that much by them. So your mileage could vary. So on the whole, blue herbs, at least at the start of the game, don't seem to be that important, but then again you can combine them with other ones, so they are worth storing for later. You know, one thing I thought they would do in the remake is include more giant hairy spiders like they had in the original, but no, they seem to have been gone completely. Arachnophobes, you win this round. Now, most of the other enemy types do reappear. Lickers are dicks as always. Dogs are really hard to hit and bark a lot. And one of the original bosses from the original Resident Evil 2, I am saying that word a lot recently, they are now just a generic enemy type which you'll encounter in the sewers. No giant moths though, so yeah, what's your deal with spiders and moths, Capcom? But if we're talking enemies, then we have to talk now about Mr. X. In the original Resident Evil 2, you had 2 scenarios for each character. Once you completed one scenario, you unlocked the additional scenario for the other character. In the additional scenario, scenario B, you would encounter Mr. X. He was a large, pale bastard who would follow you across the station and beyond and just backhand you like a tennis player. He was a pain, to put it bluntly. And he's back in the remake, and he's just as much of a pain as always, but now he's in the starting scenario for each character. I have issues with this because, first of all, that means the tense atmosphere of the first scenario gets torn up as soon as you have to run like hell from this fedora wearing pillock. And secondly, this game also has the A and B scenarios for each character, and the B scenario isn't that much different now from the A scenario. And you can't really kill Mr. X until a certain time, maybe. You can shoot the shit out of him as much as you want, and occasionally he will stop and consider his life decisions, but then he'll get back up again and resume the chase. I learned that it's not worth trying to shoot him, just run and work out what rooms he will and will not go into, which is nice of him, I guess. So we've got shooting, we've got running, we've got looking for items. What else does this game have? Puzzles. That's what this game has. Now, a lot of the original block puzzles aren't so frequent in this game. Now it's more about finding codes and using it to unlock lockers and chests and that kind of thing. You're looking for symbols in a certain order, you're looking for numbers, words, various chess pieces at one point. And a lot of it really just falls down to finding a piece of paper or photograph and seeing what's on there and applying that to the thing you're trying to unlock. It's a very simple, no frills way of going about the business, and it is nice when you find something you can now get to which will give you a benefit. But another thing which annoys me about the whole A and B scenario is that a lot of the puzzles in the B scenarios are exactly the same as they are in the A. What I mean is, if you find a locker you can open without a certain word, that word is the same in each scenario. So if you write it down the first time, you'll have it straight away for the second time. If you had Mix It Up Capcom, then again, it would make the scenarios different and worth playing more. So going back to the main characters of Chris and Leon, with the exception of one other time between a fence which looks very awkward and weird, these two never really interact that much in their playthroughs. I mean, they didn't do that much in the original game either, but it was a lot more personal between the two. This one, they may as well just be alone in their own game personally. They've all got their own different things they're trying to get towards, and they meet various different characters on the way which have a lot more of an emotional impact. It just seems like they could have really done more between the dynamic, particularly since they try and tease the romantic aspect when they first meet and then really drop it for the rest of the game. Other characters that you'll encounter get a lot more screen time, which includes Marvin, the friendly black cop, the kendo store owner, although his store has very little in the way of usable loot, which is a big disappointment. And of course, Ada is her sexy spy self as always, but really, what is the deal with her little hacking gun? I can tell you right now at Capcom, no one wanted the remake to include Ada just watchdogging over across the walls with a little X-ray hacking gun while zombies try and eat her. No one wanted that. Why is that in there? On the other hand, when it comes to the bit where you take control of Sherry and you're trapped in the orphanage, spoilers, her section is extremely tense as she tries to escape from a guy who, let's face it, is probably a sexual predator. I read the novel Resident Evil 2, I know what I mean. And since she is a little girl, she has no access to guns or anything like that, so she has to really play hide and seek against him and use her wits, and yeah, it's tense and a little freaky.
It's all over now! Doors locked! Where are you? Show yourself! I know you're in here! The longer it takes me to find you, the worse it's gonna be!
To take a shower afterwards was a bit grimy. But one great thing they have done with this game is the additional content you've got, and this, thankfully, doesn't cost you anything. So right now there are 3 different playthroughs. You can either play as the Kendo shop owner, who has a daughter who may be a little unwell, or you can play as Hunk from the original game. He is a special forces type dude, and yeah, he has to survive. Or you can play as the mayor's daughter, and she has a bit of history with a certain police chief. So it's definitely worth playing through all of these scenarios just so you get the full picture of the game. Also, whilst I'm happy they didn't see the need to shoehorn in a co-op mode for the main storylines, I think what would have been cool as a side mission is a co-op side mission where you and a friend can take 2 characters and just try to survive together in Resident Evil 2. You could even do something really cool and give them a very, very limited inventory, so you have to kind of trade items to get through certain puzzles. I think that could have been quite interesting, but I guess the engine wasn't designed for co-op, and it's not a bad thing. If you want to play co-op in Resident Evil, 5 and 6 have you covered. Other little tweaks they've done is that you can now board up windows, so if you hear a zombie trying to smack on the glass to get in, and if you have some wood lying around, you can quickly do some nails to the board and prevent him from coming in, which is nice. But burning zombies doesn't seem to be a thing now. It was in the Resident Evil remake from a few years ago, but not anymore, although you will have to for the plant monsters since they like to regenerate. And if you are playing this game on PC, I highly recommend the mods available. I was a fool and bought my copy via Xbox, but I have seen the YouTube videos and some of them are hilarious. My favourite is the Thomas the Tank Engine as Mr. X1. Check that shit out. Other than that, there's not much really to mention about the game without spoiling it so much. Performance wise, I've had okay times of it. Twice though it kind of froze for a few seconds and then resumed, so not too sure what that was about. But mainly I've just been abusing various enemy AI, such as if there's an object between me and a zombie and I go one way, the zombie will also go the other way, and then I can quickly speed out past him. My personal favourite though is shooting liquors through doorways, since they're one of the few enemies that don't seem to know how doorknobs work, and you can abuse the hell out of this, as you can see before you. Oh, and another little annoying thing is that some locked doors literally cannot be unlocked in the playthrough you've chosen, so bear that in mind when you're searching for something which literally does not exist. So, on to my final score. Now I know it sounds like I've been giving this game a lot of grief this past 15 or 20 minutes, but generally speaking, the issues I've had have been very small and minor. On the whole, I have loved playing this remake. I do dig the survival horror element to it. I really like having to use my wits to work out how to get past certain scenarios, and being able to hoard weaponry and bullets and using grenades and whatnot later throughout the game is just a real good experience which you don't often get nowadays. So my final score for Resident Evil 2 the remake is 4 vagina arm monsters out of 5. If you're looking for a solid survival horror title, then look no further. Get this now or wait until it's on sale. Whatever you do, just play it. You'll love it, I promise. Anyway, that's all for me now. Thanks for watching. My name has been Dan, and I shall see you on the next review, which will be Anthem. Until next time, bye!